So here's the scene. You spend weeks, maybe even months, super excited to start a new D&D campaign. Finally, after weeks and weeks of trying to figure out when you guys can start, it comes and you find out that you don't really mesh very well with your D&D campaign members. Your party just doesn't play the same as you, and it just feels like a discombobulated mess. And although, yes, you are doing a session 0, you spent weeks preparing for this session 0, and now it feels like there will not be a campaign after this, and you have to make a decision. Put up playing D&D with people you don't really like playing D&D with, or break up with your D&D party.
Hey man, how the hell you doing? I've been just fine living life with the news.
Goodbye, darling, or rather, hello, darlings, and welcome to the Goodbye, Darling podcast, the podcast where I talk about things that unequivocally piss me off. And today we are going to be talking about bad D&D parties. Some of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to being a part of a D&D campaign with people, and also some of the tips and advice I've kind of gathered through my years of playing D&D and TTRPGs in general that I want to give to all of you so that you can hopefully not one, be one of these players, but also to have these bad experiences. For those who don't know me, hi, I'm Izzie, or Izumi Audio, or Izumi, depending on what channel you watch me on. And I've been playing D&D, or TTRPGs in general, for the past few years. I'm definitely a newer fan to TTRPGs, but I have really gotten into them since I have found my love for them. I'd say I started getting to TTRPGs in 2020, 2021, around there. And then I really got into it in 2022. And then since then, for the past 3 years, I've been really in it. But I've obviously faced the inevitable thing of campaigns fizzling out because of conflict with schedules. That's the big bad, right? For making D&D campaigns and actually making them last is someone's schedule ends up not working, and then you don't want to continue with making, someone just disappear all the time. Or the DM gets too busy with work and he or she can't plan out, they can't plan out a campaign every week. Or you just don't mesh well with your group. That's another thing that can happen, is just your play styles are different. And that's I've made a video on the Matt Mercer effect over on my vlogging channel, and I kind of talked about this over there, about how I really don't believe there are bad D&D players. I really don't believe there are bad people that are just inherently not good at playing D&D and TTRPGs. Now, that's not to say that there's not negligent DMs or DMs that have not a lot of empathy for their players, and that inherently makes them not as good as a DM that cares more, obviously, or a player that cares more. But I was talking about it on there because I was talking about the Matt Mercer effect, or the Critical Role effect, where people were blaming Critical Role for, which is a popular live play D&D show. They were blaming Critical Role for ruining their campaigns, because people had higher expectations for their DMs and stuff, or they expected to have the quality of a production that is a business at the end of the day. Critical Role is a business. They can afford more than a DM that is doing this for fun would be able to afford. And I understood the essence of where they were coming from, but the amount of blame they were putting on these new players, especially players that got introduced to D&D through Critical Role, which, by the way, I knew what Dungeons & Dragons was before I started watching Critical Role, but Critical Role is what broke the stigma down for me a lot and made me feel more comfortable actually trying out D&D. Just I feel like that's happened a lot recently with Baldur's Gate, people trying out Baldur's Gate and then realizing that there is this community of really amazing people that are into Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games that are honestly some of the kindest people. Truly, I've met some incredible people through finding this niche, right? And this niche is becoming just so big so rapidly, and that's awesome. I want as many people as possible to be into TTRPGs, because then that makes it more accessible and makes it have more attention on it. It's given more, I guess, like if more people are into it, more people are talking about it, more people are spreading the word, more people are buying things for that kind of stuff. It helps small businesses that their thing is TTRPG stuff, and it makes conventions even more fun because there's even more people that are super excited, and it just expands the community. It's a really cool thing to be able to grow the community of something and be a part of, like, when it was growing in a group of, you know, people. I feel like every season or like campaign of Critical Role, there's a little uptick, and they really helped destigmatize Dungeons and Dragons. From there, I became super obsessed with Dimension 20, specifically Unsleeping City and Fantasy High. And since then, Dungeons and Drag Queens has been a favorite of mine as well. I also have been recently dabbling a little bit in Legends of Evantris. Is that their name? I believe that's their name. I'm a very new fan. I've watched only a few of their videos, but I really like how fun and how it really does feel just like a group of friends playing D&D. And that's what D&D in essence should be. And that kind of plays into some of my pet peeves on D&D and how it can go downhill. And you might wonder, like, okay, I'm saying, you know, there's no bad players, there's no bad DMs, there's just inexperienced players, inexperienced DMs, or DMs or players that aren't willing to get better at the game. But I don't think when you start you're inherently bad. I think you're just unexperienced. A lot of you brought to my attention in the comments of that video, actually, that there can be bad players and bad DMs if they lack empathy for the people around them. But I feel like that comes into, okay, then they're just a shitty person. If they don't, and this is not like, thankfully, I've never experienced a bad D&D situation that then led to me realizing that they were a bad person. Thankfully, all my D&D campaigns and like one-shots and everything I've been a part of have always been positive, even if they didn't end the way that we intended them to because of scheduling conflicts or because the play styles were just not aligning. And thankfully, it didn't ruin friendships. It did need a lot of communication sometimes when it wasn't ending because of a mutual agreement, because there's going to be a little animosity when someone doesn't want to be a part of the campaign anymore, and it's like, but we can't do the campaign without you guys. And I get that. It's also hard because, like, me and Gabe, my fiance, we typically play campaigns together, and if one of us can't do it anymore, that means both of us can't do it anymore. That doesn't mean that if for some reason we're playing a campaign with a couple of friends, or we found a group online or something, and Gabe doesn't really mesh well, but I do, I would keep playing the campaign, and vice versa. But if we see our partner being disrespected by someone in the campaign, that's different. We're gonna both step down. Or if there's a scheduling conflict, it's probably a scheduling conflict with both of us. If there's a gameplay conflict, like they don't play D&D like we like to play D&D, we're probably both going to leave because we have very similar preferences when it comes to D&D. We have a little bit of difference, but for the most part, our core wants from a campaign are very similar. Gabe and I are very narrative focused, and I think that comes from our experience with D&D being through D&D content. We experienced Critical Role Campaign 3, and then we rewatched the first and second campaigns. You know, I haven't watched the first campaign. I haven't watched Vox Machina. I've watched Mighty Nine. I'm like halfway through Mighty Nine right now. I'm watching it currently. And it's my favorite like D&D campaign I think I've ever watched is Mighty Nine. It's just so, it really it captures the best parts of D&D, in my opinion. the narrative storytelling and the bonding between these party members and like riffing off of one another and that kind of stuff. It's truly, I think it's the bread and butter of D&D, at least when I play it. I love combat. I think combat's really fun, but I don't like combat that lacks narrative. Now, I'm going to go ahead and detour here because I know I've kind of been going on a tangent for a second. I'm going to specifically talk about my pet peeves of D&D parties. And when I say bad D&D parties, Raven almost knocked over the camera. Sorry about that, guys. You want to come up here? Hi, baby. Raven has joined us on the little chair here. You want to go into the little cubby? She's deciding whether she wants to lay down. There you go. Oh no, not the toes being out. But oh, there you go, baby. If you see something moving underneath my blanket, it is my cat. That is Raven. So I want to go ahead and quickly kind of talk about when I mention bad D&D parties, what I mean by that, because I've just said the whole, like, I really didn't think that there were bad players or bad DMs for a long time. Then some of you guys brought to my attention that, like, there can be. But it typically comes from a lack of empathy, not from a lack of knowledge. There are just shitty people that happen to play D&D, right? Like, that's not... But I guess, like, where I'm coming from, too, with that, though, is not just... Okay, yeah, no, they are a bad player and a bad DM, blah, blah, blah. If they're a bad person, then it's like, okay, that's a bigger issue. That's not they're a bad party member. That's not they're bad at D&D. That's they're a shitty person. That's different. And I feel like the people that were saying they're bad at D&D, or like others are bad at D&D, in the video where I was talking about the Mercer effect, they were specifically slandering people that wanted a lot of acting and role playing in their D&D campaigns. And from my perspective, I was like, well, that's not fair, because that's just not what you want from a campaign, but that's what they want from a campaign. That doesn't make them a bad D&D player. And that's kind of where I was coming from with that. But I also understand and like acknowledge the fact that there can be bad players and DMs if you're just a bad person, right? But getting into some of the things that if I'm a part of a D&D party that does these things, I can't be a part of that D&D party. Now, this is why it's very important before you even get into session 0. My piece of advice, and I'm going to explain why this is a piece of advice I really follow nowadays, is before there's even a session 0, which basically is like before you get into the campaign or the one-shot or whatever, you just test the waters, play around with your characters, make sure everything's good, everyone's meshing well. I feel like there should be a call even before that with the group, just talking about expectations, not creating characters, not any of that. Just talking about, okay, what do we all want from this campaign? Are we wanting a narrative first campaign? Are we wanting a combat first campaign? What kind of characters are we wanting to make? Are we wanting to make jokey characters or wanting to make very serious characters? Do we want a very serious campaign? Do we want a very funny campaign? It's, I feel like, very important and very pivotal to the success of your campaign and the longevity of your campaign to be able to have that kind of conversation, be honest with everyone about what you want from the campaign. It's important. It's just as important for the players to say what they want from a campaign as it is the DM. Because if a DM loves DMing combat first campaigns, they're going to struggle. I say he, not my inner sexism coming out. I'm not sexist, I promise. I DM. I go by she, her pronouns. It's just that majority of the DMs I've had have been guys, and so that's immediately what my brain goes to. But I would love to have a woman DM, please, 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 or they them DM, please, please invite me to D&D campaigns. I beg you. There was actually a very nice fella who DM'd me, asking if I ever wanted to be a part of, basically saying like if I ever wanted to be part of a D&D campaign in person, that he's in the area of a specific city that's like somewhat near me, because he heard that I was like in Florida. And it was very nice of him. I don't have the time to be able to drive multiple hours to where they are to be able to do D&D campaigns in person, but that was just like so kind. And if I lived closer, I honestly would have taken him up on the offer. That was very nice. But also like stranger danger, you want to be safe, especially as a young woman online. And to be fair, they literally said in their message like, hey, I don't mean to sound creepy, like you just mentioned that you live in Florida, like I have no clue if you live near where I live. I just wanted to say that like I have a really fun group of friends who play D&D, blah blah blah. And it was very nice. Shout out to you if you see this. I doubt you will, but if you see this, I loved that message. It made me smile. But where was I? I think I was talking about, even if a DM, like it's important for the DM even to say what they want and don't want in a campaign. Like I said, if they're like if they like DMing combat, they're not going to enjoy doing a narrative campaign. If they like doing narrative, they're not going to enjoy doing combat. If they like a perfect 50-50, they're not going to want to do a mainly narrative campaign, right? It's all about finding not only people that are willing to play D&D and have the free time to play D&D, but it's also about finding people who play D&D the way that you also like to play D&D. And you can have different types of players on the same team, but there needs to be communication, because if one person is going into a campaign being like, yeah, this is going to be so fun and like we're going to be badass and it's going to be very narrative forward and I'm going to make a really cool, dark, mysterious character, and then they get into the campaign and the rest of the characters are all like joke characters, it makes you second guess your character. It makes you second guess what this campaign's going to be like. Now, granted, that could still be some of the most fun you've ever had in a campaign. And I think fun characters are so needed, but there's a reason why you can't have a full cast of funny characters in a narrative focused campaign. If you only have funny characters that don't have a serious side to them, then you're never going to get anything done. It needs to have a little bit of balance to it, right? Now, if you're doing a like wacky, like funny, very goofy campaign, and like I feel like Dimension 20 does a lot of kind of goofy campaigns, but they always have a serious side to them. They always have a serious, they have an ability to be serious when they need to. And also those campaigns are more railroaded because they're recorded, because they need to get to certain story beats, because they're recording and they only have a specific amount of episodes to get to the climax of the story, to get to the big bad, to get to XYZ. And so it's obviously a very different thing than like a home game would be, or a game online with your friends. I have been plotting, planning, prepping a D&D campaign to do online, as well as I want to do one like online as in like recording it, like I would be publishing it. And I asked you guys recently about if you guys would like to see that, and apparently you guys would. I have a project name, but I don't know if I should share it. It's crude. It's a little crude. So basically it's like a rocker girl Y2K vibe. It's an urban fantasy D&D campaign that I would be doing online. And so the code name, I don't know if this is actually going to be what I call it. This is just the code name because I came up with it and I thought it was really funny, is Y2KYS. It's going to be a little edgy. It's going to be very alt. It's going to be very rocker girl punk vibe. So that's the name. That is the project name. I don't know if that's what's going to be called, but like keep an eye out. Let me know what you guys think it should be named if you have any other ideas. But it is Y2KYS right now. And if you don't get it, I'm sorry for that. Anyways, so with my personal games too, though, like I have a couple friends that are very new to D&D that I've been wanting to do a D&D campaign with for a long time. And the smaller you have a campaign, Like because they recommend like what 3 to 5 players for one DM. The smaller the campaign size, the easier it's going to be to coordinate. And I have some friends that I'm like, they'll make time for it. They're just new to D&D, and so it's kind of like spooky for them. I am really excited to do that campaign with them because I know they have very similar ideas of what a D&D campaign is. They haven't played D&D a lot, so I don't know how they're going to actually like playing. But I know I could do a small little mini campaign that maybe lasts like 2 or 3 months, once a week with them, and it would be a fun little narrative experience. And they'd get to learn what type of D&D campaigns they enjoy. They also both are really good at improv. They both like voice acting and just like being a part of that kind of stuff. We all are gamers. We love RPGs. So that is so much easier because I know them so well, what type of campaign they're going to like. Now, I'm still going to have a conversation with them. I'm still going to have a call before session 0, before anyone makes their characters, before I lay down hours and hours into making this campaign, making sure we're all on the same page of what this campaign's going to look like, and making sure we're all going to be happy with the page we're on of what the campaign's going to look like. Then we make our characters. Maybe we plan for the next week. Like we do 1 week, we do that deal. And I have the bones of what the campaign would be, but I'm going to morph it based on that talk. Then I put down the hours of work to make sure that the thing that they are going to be doing in the campaign is ready by the next week. Next week we do session 0. We just play around with our characters. I love when a cast of characters already knows each other. When the party already knows the other people in the party. Especially if it's a bigger party, you like having like, okay, these 2 people know each other. These 3 people know each other. That helps make things make sense so much more. And this is something that as an amateur DM or an amateur player, I didn't understand. I didn't understand why that was so important. But honestly, as I have gotten more into TTRPGs and D&D in general, and just like that, D&D and TTRPGs in general, it has really shown its importance level, because when you are entering a D&D campaign, you are putting a lot of pressure that first campaign, that first session, not campaign, the first session, for your party to get along, for your party's characters to get along. That's why session 0s are very important. But also, if you have them in session 0 already know each other and they've been talking all week about what their characters are, I love a good reveal. I love being able to be like, now what does your character look like? The winds pick up and you are suddenly taken across the city, down alleys, leaves bustling, the autumn trees shaking softly with the wind, and underneath those autumn trees sits a character. What does that character look like? And you ask the person and they get to describe their character. I feel like it's important to still have those moments, and I love that, but I think that it's also important to balance that with, okay, yes, you guys get to reveal the details of your characters to each other that day, but you also get to have a moment of like, your characters know each other. Your characters know your interests, your personalities, what you guys look like on a basic level. But that first introduction isn't just that. It's you introducing yourself to the world. You have created your character. You have put the love and thought into who that character is. Now, let's introduce them to the world around them. They probably already know basics about like what their life looks like. I love to have those types of conversations with my players, is like, okay, what does your daily life look like in the place you're living right now? I have so many maps. I love making maps for things. And I'll have them be like, okay, what district would you live in the city? Okay, what would your daily life look like? Okay, that's your occupation. What time would you go into work, you feel like? And if they don't know, I'll help them, obviously. I'll be like, okay, well, they probably do something at this time, so you probably be more busy in the morning, than the afternoon would be all free for you. Or vice versa, or whatever it would be. Or, oh yeah, you work the night shift at that patrol, right? At that guard post, you work the night shift. I love character and world building. That is by far my favorite thing. But one thing that really gets me excited is when I get to take world building and character like development, and I get to highlight my favorite things of those with narrative, by making a narrative fun and compelling and dramatic. And I am a writer through and through. I love writing. I love storytelling. I write books. I do a lot of improv stuff. I voice act. I voice act for my own thing, so I'm writing and also acting in the things. But I voice act for other people. It's such a deep part of who I am that it's baffling that I didn't become obsessed with D&D sooner. Truly. It is baffling that I didn't DM quicker. I played as a player for about a year and a half before I even thought about becoming a DM, because I was just I lacked so much confidence in myself to be able to tell a story while people were improvising. Because it is a talent. It is something it's a skill, not even a talent. It's a skill that you have to train, because you're not just telling a story. You are telling a story that is impacted by the people you're telling it to and changed. And they are also telling you the story because they are the characters in the story. So as much as, yes, I make an overarching narrative and I tie these things all together, they're the ones also telling the story to me. I don't know what they're going to do. I could have an idea based on how their character is, but I don't know for certain how that character is going to react to the narrative and how that character is going to change the narrative. And that's when it gets really fun. That's when you get to really experiment with what your party likes, and twists and turns and mysteries, and revealing things that are a part of characters' pasts. That's so fun. When you get to tie together in this perfect little bow, this perfect little present, a full narrative that then includes so many things from character backstories. It's magic. Truly. It's beautiful. And when you're the player experiencing it, it's amazing. And that's what a good DM is for me. And that's why that's not everyone's perfect D&D party. A way to prevent having bad parties is by having those conversations before and during the campaign about what you like and dislike, about what's going on, in a good, constructive way, not in a bad way by any means. It's also important, in my opinion, to be honest. It's not even in my opinion. It's important to be honest with yourself, your players, and you can only hope that they're being as honest with you as you're being with them. And it's hard to be honest sometimes because you don't always want to admit that you might be the problem in the group. And that's, being a problem is not a bad thing. It's something you have to navigate. You don't always want to admit, oh, my schedule's the one that's going to fuck this up. Or, oh, I don't want to play a campaign like this. But everyone else is having a good time. Everyone else can make the schedule work. That's something that is hard to admit and talk about and be like, hey guys, I love hanging out with all you guys, but I don't know if this campaign's working for me. And it's nothing against any of you. I can tell that you guys are having an amazing time, and I wasn't having an awful time. It's just, this is not the type of D&D campaign I wanted to play. I have such little free time that I would rather just hang out with you guys outside of D&D. Or I would rather find a D&D campaign that better fits me, and maybe you can find a player that better fits this D&D campaign. That's a really hard pill to not only swallow and admit to yourself, but also to tell someone else and to tell a group of people. But it's important to be able to talk with your party members. Because the worst thing is when you think everyone's having a good time as a DM or as a player, and then suddenly someone leaves without any warning. Or suddenly someone starts, I guess, like acting out in character because they're frustrated in real life with how the campaign's going. So it's very important that the moment you feel frustration or the moment you feel like this might not be working for you, to just talk and try to like calm yourself into a state where like you're going to be able to talk, not argue about it, but to the point where you're going to be able to be like, okay, I think this is a really fun group, or I think this is a really cool group and this is a really cool campaign, but I don't know if I fit it really well. I have very different play style for D&D than I think you guys do. And I hope you guys find a player that kind of fits it better. But I think I'm going to have to withdraw from the campaign. And not everyone's going to react well to that. Not everyone's going to be able to take that and accept it. Some people are going to feel like you're ruining the campaign because you're leaving or something. And I get their frustration, truly. But you have to remember that frustration is not at you not enjoying the campaign. It's at you messing up their perspective of what the campaign was. Because if you suddenly say, hey, I haven't really been having a great time, like it's nothing against you guys. It's just, I don't think that we mesh well playing D&D. There is a chance that someone will take it as a personal attack. And that is okay. Try to communicate and be like, it's nothing against any of you guys. It's just, I feel like you guys would rather have someone that plays like you play. And I'm just not that person. And I would rather be in a group that plays like I play. That's why I struggle with the whole bad parties thing or bad DMs thing. I do now admit, yes, there can be bad parties and bad DMs and bad players, but more often than not, it's just a party or a player or a DM that doesn't work for you specifically. Now, so my piece of advice, communication. Have a talk before you even start making your character with the whole group, or as many people in the group as you can get together, preferably the whole group. Because if they're not able to show up for this, it's like they're probably not gonna be able to show up for a lot, or you guys need to figure that shit out, or it's too big of a group or something like that. Talk, figure it out, then do session 0, then start the campaign. Now, my next big pet peeve when it comes to D&D and DMing. Not just, actually, this is more of a player. This is a player thing. My next pet peeve with being a player is when the DM doesn't put his players enjoying the campaign first. When they ignore the wants of their players because that doesn't fit their idea of what the campaign was going to be. Raven is scratching herself underneath the blanket. And this mainly comes from, I am the type of DM that I'm like, I loosely follow the rules of D&D and mainly follow the rule of cool, right? I want my players to have fun. And some DMs that do this is like Jared from Gals and Goblins. He is very good at that. He creates systems for his campaigns. If you guys haven't watched Gals and Goblins, oh my goodness, it is so fun. I need to keep going. I am about 10 or 11 episodes in, I want to say. And I used to listen to it every single day while going on my like walks or bike rides. And it is something that I definitely want to get back into listening to. But now that I live in the middle of nowhere, I don't really go on bike rides or walks anymore because I don't have like a sidewalk to do that on. So I just need to figure out where I'm going to fit that in. But oh my God, I love how he DMs. It is so fun. And he literally says at the beginning of his episodes, like, welcome to Gals and Goblins. The campaign that loosely follows the game that loosely follows the rules of D&D mainly follows the rule of cool. And I love that because I think more DMs should be like that. I feel like there's too many that they just want to be such sticklers for the rules. And I think rules are important, yes. But I feel like, is it more important than your players? No. Now, you could have a group of players that are awful, that are like mean and love breaking rules and just want to push you to your breaking point. And I know that there's a lot of memes and jokes about players like annoying their DMs. And I think that's really funny. And have I been annoyed by my players? No. I've laughed with my players. I have found it astonishing how they've found the ways they've found to do things that I just didn't think were possible. But I don't find that annoying. I find that very funny. And I find that very, like, again, they're affecting the narrative. They're telling me the narrative just as much as I'm telling them at the end of the day. But I have had one too many experiences where, like, the DM homebrews something or allows a homebrew, but then is either, like, flip-floppy on the rules of that homebrew, never writes them down, never gives a specific, like, this is how it works in writing, because it's very important to have like documents of homebrew things so that everyone's on the same page. Or they will do something and I'll be like, oh, I thought it worked like this. And then they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, why is that? Like, just asking a genuine, like, oh, why does it work that way? Like, would my character know that? And them just being like, 'cause I'm the DM. Oh, brother, we're gonna have a problem here. Oh, brother, we're gonna have a problem here. Oh, I didn't realize I was playing with a little bitch. I didn't realize I was playing with a little pussy boy bitch. Interesting. Oh, because you said so. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? Leave. Because I said so. That is just so... And I get sometimes as a DM, you have to put your foot down and you have to be like, guys, we can't argue about this. Let's talk about this later. We can't argue about this all day. Let's agree that as the DM, I get the final choice. That's okay. It's not okay, though, to take every time they question what you're doing and how you're ruling certain things in your game. Every time they question it, even the smallest bit, to be like, well, I'm the DM. Okay, I didn't realize you had to stick up your ass. Okay, I didn't realize that this was the DM show. I just hate it so much. And I haven't had that happen to me as a DM where someone is arguing with me or saying, not even arguing with me. I've never had anyone argue with me as a player. But I haven't even had someone be like, hey, I don't get why this is the way it is, and me respond with, 'cause I'm the DM. I'm sorry. I'm not a dictator in this D&D game. I'm a person who is having fun DMing you all and wants you guys to have fun being DM'd. I feel like if I was put in that situation, I would just be like, if I truly thought I was right, okay, so I'm really trying to put myself in the shoes. If I really thought I was right and did not understand where they were coming from, I would take a second and be like, okay, I am really struggling to understand what you're saying here, and we need to continue the story today. So I say we put a tack in this. Let's talk about this, just you and me, after the game, because I think we need to clear some things up. But for now, let's go ahead and do a compromise. I wouldn't even say, like, it has to be what I say because I'm the DM. But like, okay, let's do a compromise. It's like, oh, they remember having 100 gold on them, but I only have them having 50 on my little sheet or whatever. I don't know. This is a stupid reference, but you know what I mean. This is a stupid example. But like, I would be like, okay, let's say you have 75, and then we'll figure it out later, and you can be in debt if for some reason I'm right and you're wrong. And I make a joke about it. Be like, well, Tim Nook's actually taking your money now. You owe him 1,000,000 bells, actually. Plot twist. I just make a joke about it, and I want everyone to have fun, and I just don't get DMs that don't want that. I think it comes from a place of, there are truly some DMs and some players too that see D&D as like them being on stage and them being able to show off their improv skills and their voices and their everything. And I think that is damaging to DMs that really are good and try really hard to make their games good. Oh my god. Okay, so I have heard so many stories. I think we're coming up on our time here. I actually don't know. Are we at? I think it's 46 minutes. Okay, we're over time technically. I'm just gonna tell this one quick story, and then the rest will be over on the extended cut over on my Patreon. But I had a friend of mine who, she was a part of a D&D campaign, and she was so excited. She was so excited to be a part of this D&D campaign. And then it ended up just not being at all what she thought it was going to be. And they made her feel bad for not knowing the rules. Her first D&D campaign, mind you. They made her feel bad for not knowing the rules, and it was kind of a boys club vibe of like, it was mainly guys, and all they wanted to do is like fight things and everything, and it just didn't really fit what she wanted, and it made her feel really like, okay, D&D's not for me. And that hurts my soul, because D&D and tabletop role-playing in general can be so many different things. Just attested to the fact that there's so many different shows and actual plays and that kind of stuff online that are so different from one another. And I think there needs to be more. I really think there needs to be more TTRPG content online that shows the many different ways you can play the game. And I hope that there is more diversity with the types of role-playing game systems that are used. I really, really love improv and role-playing and storytelling. And I feel like D&D and tabletop role-playing games in general are an amazing outlet to be able to do that kind of stuff. And so it really does hurt when someone that's a dear friend of mine had such a negative experience doing something that is so fun. If you have a party that cares, if you have a DM that cares. And I'm not saying that the party that she was a part of was inherently an awful party, like, period. The other people were having fun. They can keep having fun. They can keep doing their party the way they are. But they should not have made her feel stupid for being a new player. Because what is that going to do? Make her think that she's bad at D&D. And as I said earlier, inexperience does not mean you're bad at D&D. It just means you need to learn more about how to play. I am super excited for everything coming up. If any of you are ASM artists, specifically if any of you are sapphic or queer in general or LGBT ASM artists in the ASMR sphere or the audio roleplay, audio drama sphere on YouTube, comment down below, reach out to me, email me, whatever suits you, or join my Discord server, whatever it is, and let me know, because I am trying to get together a fun cast of preferably sapphic or LGBT women that are, voice actors or ASM artists for a D&D campaign that's going to be online. It's the Y2KYS code name. I can't get over that. But yeah, so that's something I've been trying to do, is like get connections with other ASM artists and stuff, because I'm very in my own bubble. And it would be like a shorter little campaign. It would be probably like 6 to 8 episodes, and we'd film a couple times a week for just like 2 weeks. And then it would go up probably weekly for however many episodes there are, so like 6 to 8 weeks, which I feel like would be so fun. It'd be so fun to be able to play D&D that frequently too. They'd be shorter sessions because they're episodes on YouTube, and they're gonna be fully edited and sound effects and music and everything. But how fun, I just burped, sorry. How fun to be able to play D&D like 3 times a week. Oh, that'd be such a cool thing. And it'd be work, it'd be part of, a job thing. Yeah. So exciting. Anyways, I'll see you guys over on the Patreon extended cut. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Goodbye, Darling. And I want to know your guys' opinions down in the comments. I love D&D. I love TTRPGs. I've been like such a drought of doing games right now that like I'm just like itching to do another campaign or do a one shot or do something. So let me know what you guys think of everything I talked about in this episode down in the comments. And we'll continue in a second over on the Patreon. Bye, darling.